Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at ABOTA Fort Lauderdale. We have a terrific program on hand today with Rosen, who is going to be showing us some incredible techniques that he uses to make our presentations that much better for hearings, depositions, and trials down the road. All of these things have been practiced over the past few months. And if you are familiar with Eric and follow his YouTube channel with all his different tips, you know this is going to be quite entertaining and very informative. But before we begin with the program, we're very lucky to have two judges who are going to be speaking with us prior to Mr. Rosen's presentation. I'm very, very pleased to welcome to Fort Lauderdale ABOTA the new FLABOTA President, Judge Nelly Khouzam from the 2nd DCA. She was the ABOTA Jurist of the Year for 2002. I believe she was appointed to the 2nd DCA back in 2008, and it's really an honor to have her with us. And she wanted to deliver some words to the membership. So, Judge Khouzam, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jeff. When I was talking to Jeff, I thanked him for the invitation and I told him that I'd be very brief. So I'm really, truly honored to be FLABOTA's president and to follow Scott Constantino's shoes in leading the great lawyers towards the mission of ABOTA, as you know, which is professionalism and civility in the practice of law, and to maintain and preserve the 7th Amendment right to jury trial. That's why this webinar and others like it are very important, especially in this time of COVID. And I do know that ABOTA continues to work closely with the courts, and this collaboration is key. I'd like to thank the leadership of the Fort Lauderdale chapter, Jeff Adelman, president, and others in his chapter for making this happen. This is going to be a tremendous seminar, and I'm very much looking forward to participating. And thank you again for having me, Jeff.
Thank you again for joining us. And if there's anything we can do to help with your presidency, we're here for you. So thanks so much for being here. And Scott Constantino, we appreciate you being here too. We led FLABOTA through a very interesting conclusion. And, we appreciate everything that you did to make our organization great and your continued support. Well, we also have with us today Judge Carol Lisa Phillips, who has really been at the forefront of these changes that we've had in the law with COVID and how we do things. She was the first judge, I believe, to put up some protocols of how you should conduct yourself during a motion calendar, which now all motion calendars are being done through Zoom. And I know that a lot of judges looked at what she did because it was very, very effective. And she's been a big supporter of the organization and really been a tremendous help with trying to get Zoom jury trials off the ground. And I thought it was perfect to have her speak today before Eric's presentation. So Judge Phillips, happy to have you here.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you to everybody who is here this morning. It's an honor to be asked to speak this morning, along with being here with Judge Khouzam, you, Jeff, as well as Eric. I know is going to put on a fantastic seminar because he is the technology guru, and I have seen him at work. On behalf of the Chief, Judge Jack Tudor, as well as on behalf of all the judges in the 17th Judicial Circuit, and a lot of who have joined here today, we want to thank you. We want to thank ABOTA. You guys deserve a standing ovation and lots of applause because you have been here to work with us the entire time since the first day that the courthouse closed down and all of this started. You guys have walked with us in every step. Every time we've emailed you, called you, asked you to do anything, you guys have really stepped up to the plate. And really, without you, we would not have come this far. So truly, on behalf of everybody involved, I want to thank you. And I want to thank everybody who's been appearing via Zoom, all the attorneys that are here today, because really you guys have been professional, more professional than in the courtroom, truly. And I want to thank you for your patience, because some of us aren't as technology savvy as Eric, and everybody has been patient, and really the professionalism is at an all-time really great level. So if anything were to come out of this, it is we are moving forward with the technology, and the professionalism is really starting to come back. Honest, I mean, I see it every day. As you all know, or if you don't know, what I want to tell you here this morning is we have been working really, really hard in order to try to move forward to get jury trials. As you all know, we've done hundreds of evidentiary hearings at this point in time, sharing the screen, swearing in witnesses, and I've had at least 2 non-jury trials, and I know all of my colleagues have probably had non-jury trials at this point in time, but I know we've had hundreds of evidentiary hearings, which really is the same type of thing, swearing in the witnesses and sharing screens and getting exhibits uploaded and so forth. But what we really have worked on is this jury trial. I know that the Fourth Circuit yesterday was choosing a jury. They are having an actual binding jury trial that's going to be completely virtual. And I know that they were supposed to pick a jury yesterday and begin it on Monday. I was in hearings all yesterday morning, so I was unable to see that. But it's my understanding it is up to be seen this morning, that they've put it up, I think, on the network. But here at the 17th, what we did is we began with baby steps and move forward. The first virtual trial we did was with the staff attorneys playing the parts of counsel as well as witnesses, and it was a personal injury jury trial. Judge Keithan Frink was the judge of that trial, and we went ahead and did that. And after we did that, we thought, this went off without a hitch. Let's move forward. We can do this. The next thing we did is we got ABOTA involved, and you guys stepped up to the plate. The ABOTA attorneys played the parts, as they do so famously, of themselves being plaintiff attorneys, defense attorneys, and also as witnesses in a mock trial that was based on a real trial that had taken place. That went off without a hitch. So then we moved forward, and we had a virtual trial of jury selection, voir dire, using the judicial assistants as the prospective jurors. And we were able to get them online and with work, and with the help of our IT department, Orlando Garcia, who has been invaluable. We need 20 of him. But with his help, we were able to do jury selection. And Judge Tudor did the second virtual trial. Judge Levinson conducted the jury selection voir dire along with ABOTA. And just recently, Judge Henning was the judge sitting on when we did a virtual jury selection with actual jurors from Broward County. We prepared summonses, got them prepared, got them up and ready. And really, after that jury selection took place, I think everybody was really surprised at how important they took this. And we asked them lots of questions after they were chosen, and they all said that they took it of no less importance because they were appearing via Zoom, that they felt that it was just as important. They felt actually more comfortable being able to say, I don't have to come to the courthouse in these circumstances. And we had lots of jurors appear. Usually we only get half when we send out summonses during normal times. We got half jurors appearing via Zoom in these times, and only one person appeared actually at the courthouse. So that was a great thing, that they were able to follow the instructions on the jury summons and log in. And through the technology, and again, the ABOTA attorneys stepped up to the plate and performed that jury selection. So we are waiting for the very next step, and we really need your help. And now, I'm going to throw the hat out there, as Jeff and I had talked about this earlier, and we need you. We need a plaintiff attorney and defense attorney to say, I am ready to do this. I am ready to do a binding jury trial, because without you, we can't take any steps forward. And I know that if you saw the chief spoke yesterday at one of the bar associations, and I know that you've heard it from other judges as well. Even when the courthouse reopens, the criminal side is going to get those jurors when we finally get them back into the courthouse. So it may be many months before jurors are going to be returning to the courthouse. It may not be till next year in 2021. We're not sure. I always try to look at the glasses half full, and I hope every morning I wake up hoping that this is a horrible nightmare, and that this has just been a long summer horrible dream, spring break dream, I guess, that's gone on way too long. But really, everybody needs to think about this and take it seriously. The jurors take it seriously. You can watch. The videos are up. I think they're on the ABOTA website, and there was through the Florida Bar, they put all of the remote jury trials up on the website. You can see they were recorded with regards to the actual jury selection that we perform. So now it's up to you. We need you. We need you. We're asking for your help. We need a jury trial to go forward. And obviously, we don't want a medical malpractice or an asbestos trial as our very first trial, but something that can be done, as you can see on the mock virtual trials, that can be accomplished. I mean, think about it. For the past 20, 25 years, 30 years, we've been doing expert witnesses taking their depositions prior to trial when they're not available. Why not? Why not? But we need you in order to move this forward. And again, without you, we can't do this. And it's going to be a big backlog, even when jurors do come back live inside the courthouse. And there's all kinds of things that are going to have to effectuated. We're not going to be able to get the hundreds of jurors that we used to be able to get on a daily basis. So really, I'm looking out to you, the community of attorneys at this point in time. And please let Jeff, let Mitch, let me, let the chief, let one of us know, let all of us know if you're willing to step up to the plate and we have a team and we can move forward, because we would love to do that. With that, I don't want to take up any further time from this webinar. And you guys know I don't like to speak too long anyway, but it's going to be a great webinar, and I can't wait to watch Eric do his thing with the technology. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Judge Phillips. And again, I hope everybody listening now or later recognizes the opportunity that is here to make history, a binding jury trial on Zoom. And if that in fact does happen and it works well, a lot of the backlog that all of our practices are suffering with right now, at least some of that will be appeased a bit. So it's definitely something that all of us may not have thought of 6 months ago, but we really have to be creative for our clients right now to move our cases. So without further ado, I also want to mention the judiciary who is here today that has not spoken. I want to thank Judge Robinson, Judge Howry, Judge Bowman, and Judge McHugh for being with us today. If I've left anybody out, I apologize. I was looking on the participants list and that's what I saw. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Eric Rosen, a board-certified civil trial lawyer and really a phenomenal attorney. If you take a look, and again, I wasn't kidding about with his YouTube, he puts out these little clips of different tips and tricks, not for just to build his practice, but to help all of us. And I just think that's really remarkable. And he does the design and everything else himself, which is, even more impressive because it looks like they're professionally done. He is the current secretary of ABOTA Fort Lauderdale. So in January, he will be president-elect. I'm very happy to bring you today my friend, Eric Rosen of Rosen Injury Law.
Appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you so much. And Judge Phillips and Judge Khouzam, thank you so much for speaking and being our beginning presenters. So today we got somewhat of a controversial topic, but I'm going to kind of get right into it. And hopefully everybody can see the PowerPoint presentation that I'm sharing right now. Jeff, you got that up? All right, wonderful. All right, so
it's up.
We're talking about tips and strategies for Zoom litigation and trials, and it's a controversial subject because right now there are people that are opposed to it. There are people that are for jury trials via Zoom. In my my opinion is that we should be moving our cases at this point, and at this point we need to have Zoom jury trials. It has to be done, and that is what the trend is looking like right now. So really, I want to talk about that this whole idea of change is not easy. The way that we're practicing law, we did not anticipate this happening, and it happened overnight. And we need to keep up with what's happening right now with the technology and with moving our cases, because if you don't, terrible things happen. And one thing comes to mind, like Blockbuster Video. It was like they could not keep up. They didn't see that technology was changing. They didn't see streaming video was the future, and they were out of business overnight. I mean, I think the last time I heard, there's like one in Alaska. Right? Because everything's changed. Netflix took over. They were on top of the technology. And with all of our practices and what we're doing, we need to stay on top of that also. And so today I'm going to talk with you about some different tips and strategies about, Zoom litigation and what we've been doing to really optimize the way that you perform and you advocate on behalf of your clients. Because, what it really comes down to is this is us helping our clients in a completely new way of practicing law. Appearing remotely, constantly, daily. And what I've noticed is that the judges have moved so quickly, especially in Florida, to transform the way they're practicing. And in my opinion, having calendar call, having hearings via Zoom, it has been extremely effective. I feel it's been even more efficient than it was before, and I think it's only going to get better. Now, that's not to say that we need to get back to our traditional way of picking a jury, getting back to court. But right now, we need to accept what's happening and really, accept that we are in a different world. And because we're in a different world, we need to transform the way that we do things, and we need to keep up. So I'm going to give you just a quick state of affairs. One of the first jury trials, we found out it was non-binding, but it was done via Zoom, was in Texas. Florida, we have been on the cutting edge of what's going on. I know that we've already performed a mock jury selection and a number of mock jury trials. We used real jurors for one of the jury selections. Judge Phillips just talked about that, about how ABOTA of South Florida is on the cutting edge of actually presenting a case through Zoom, picking the jury, putting on our witnesses, openings, closings, and deliberations and a verdict. So right now, in California is also on the forefront of this, and I'm going to talk about them in a moment. So Judge Tudor said, and it was in a Daily Business Review article, the verdict's in, and he said right here, there's no doubt in my mind jury trials can be conducted via a video platform. And I totally, from my experience of doing multiple mock jury trials, it can be done. It should be done. We have clients that need their cases to move forward. Right? I have for a ton of experience dealing with elderly people who need to get their cases resolved, and there are defendants that are waiting to get their cases resolved. And so what I'm going to suggest is not only the attorneys that are on this phone call, but also the judges, that we look at the cases and say, you know what, this is a case we should try. Let's try this case, and then hold everyone's feet to the fire and do it and get it done. And that's exactly what happened in California, and I'm going to talk about that also in a second. So there was an asbestos trial that was being conducted in Northern California, and the trial judge said, we're doing this remotely, we're going to pick this jury remotely. And then I understand they brought the jurors in after the jury selection. But at the start of that trial, the defendant filed a writ of certiorari or writ of prohibition to the appellate court in California, and it was denied. It was denied by the appellate court, and they said that there was no immediate harm. Let's see what happens. And that's what happened. And so my understanding was that case proceeded through jury selection, and they've moved into the actual picking, opening statements and putting on witnesses. So that's something to consider, is that there is an appellate court out there that has said, you know what, let's try it. Let's do it. and see what happens. Because right now we need to. The cases are not, the dockets that we are facing right now aren't getting smaller. They're only getting, larger. There's just more and more cases getting filed and not getting resolved. And that's going to create a huge backlog. So for the attorneys on this phone call, take a look at your inventory, talk to the opposing counsel, and see if you can pick that, good liability case or clear liability, and maybe put in an agreement for a high-low or something so that you can get that case resolved and there isn't so much risk, but you get it done. And now Judge Phillips mentioned this also. As we speak right now, there is a jury selection going on in the Fourth Circuit. From my understanding, it's a default case, but the plaintiff's attorney is going to be picking that jury. He's going to put on his witnesses. He's going to do his closing, and it will ultimately be a binding verdict and judgment. And so they're really the first ones to do essentially a default case, but we still in Broward County can be the first, first group of people that actually try a case to a verdict with opposing parties that have opposing lawyers, and we put on our witnesses and we get our cases done. So the fact that we have changed the way we're doing things, it's time. The time really was a few months ago, but now even more than ever, right? With COVID levels rising, it doesn't look any better than it was back in April or May, right? So whatever I was anticipating, if I said back in April or May that we're not going to do a jury trial in maybe the end of this year or early next year, well, it's not any better than that. And I'm seeing in-person jury trials, in a civil case. It's going to be difficult to get that done this year, and it's going to be even harder. Or it's going to be hard even next year, even into the middle of next year, or even later next year. So we don't know. So the point is this: you need to get prepared. You got to get the right equipment, because this is the way that we practice law today, in a new world that we didn't see coming. But we're here now. It's reality. Go out and get the right equipment and start presenting your case. Really in the best foot forward that you can do. So that's my home kit that I have. I have the lighting, I have the green screen. We're going to talk about why each of those things are important for the way that you advocate on behalf of your client. So first, you have to get proper lighting. I mean, I know some of this stuff is going to be very, very basic, but the people that are on this webinar today, you go on Amazon and you're going to buy a couple of the pieces of equipment that I'm going to talk about, and it's going to change the way that you present your case. You're going to get an edge against your opponent, because when you just add proper lighting, right, and set it up behind that webcam, it's a softbox lighting. Go on to Amazon and you pick it out. As soon as you set that up, you can see a dramatic difference. That's the left side with no lighting. Move over to the right side. You have lighting, and all of a sudden your image becomes crystal clear. Right now, I have a bright, softbox lighting right behind my webcam, so you can see me, in the image that I'm projecting. And I think that's just number one. 101, got to get it done. Get the right lighting. You don't want to be sitting in a dark room. It doesn't present well, right? Next thing is, if you don't have a good webcam that's already built into your laptop, go out and get a quality webcam, hook it up. It's going to increase the visual image that you're projecting, and it's going to help you out going forward. A microphone. And listen, I'm learning this stuff too. I'm not, Judge Phillips mentioned that I'm a tech, total tech guru. I'm not, okay? I'm still learning this stuff. I'm still trying to get better. But I did a webinar a few days ago, and one of the people that were presenting with me mentioned, she said, "Hey, Eric, do you have a microphone yet?" And I said, "No, I use the one that's in my computer." She goes, "Well, check out, see if you can get a microphone." So you go ahead. I think I saw it was Lou Batista I saw in the tiles there. He had a beautiful microphone sitting right there, ready to go, so that the quality of the sound that you project through your meeting, or through your hearing, or through your deposition, or through your mediation is going to be increased dramatically. So go ahead and go online. I know Yeti makes a really good version of microphone. There's some other gaming microphones that you can get at a very reasonable price, and hook it up to your computer. It hooks up through the USB, and you sound 10 times better than just the simple audio microphone that's already built into your computer. Test the technology before that hearing. Listen, it's always a risk for me to say this, because halfway through this webinar, this whole thing can completely fall apart, and it would be devastating. But I tested the technology. You should test the technology before your hearings, before your mediations. before I got this presentation, me and my folks over at Legalese that I'm going to introduce in a little bit, Baron Phillips and with Legalese, we sat down before this webinar and we tested some of the things out. And we tested the video, we tested the audio. We just wanted to make sure it's going to work. And you don't have guarantees, but you're going to minimize the risk of disasters if you test it all out before you get to game day when you're making your argument to the court. So the next topic I want to talk to you about is virtual backgrounds. Virtual backgrounds are the images that you're able to put behind you and you can stand in front of them. And if we're talking about jury selection and other hearings or meetings or mediations, these are really helpful. If you use a virtual background and use a program like Canva, and if you could write that down, Canva is a great program where you can take images and you can add words and text to it, like the ones we have here. I just got an email from a former judge who's up in New York at the NYU Law Civil Jury Project, and we use these backgrounds for one of our mock trials. He loves them, and he's been sending them to all these other people who have been asking for them, and he thanked me for putting these together. So consider using a virtual background for any of your hearings or mediations so that you can identify who you are and the other people on the meeting know exactly who you are. They can quickly look down at the screen and know who they're talking to. One tip with virtual backgrounds: the technology in Zoom is not great unless you have a green screen. And the whole purpose of a green screen is it clears up whatever virtual background you're using. So if you look on the left side, and a lot of you have probably seen this before, but if you use a virtual background without a green screen, the image gets distorted. You don't look that great. But if you add that green screen, it's like all of a sudden crystal clear. You look good in front of that virtual background, and it's going to help out. So again, a lot of these things are just taking it up one notch to really, make your presentation look great. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the experience of these jury trials, because I really want to push and suggest that, everyone out there, judges, attorneys, let's get a case to trial. These are some of the things that I suggest that we do, which I think are even better than what we were doing before in court, which is getting juror questionnaires ahead of time. If we send out juror questionnaires or a summons that has instructions to go on a website, go to this landing page and fill out that questionnaire, and we all get it ahead of time, everyone's going to be 5 steps ahead of knowing who the jurors are that are going to be showing up, some of their background information, their employment, other information that we're going to need, especially, you could add questions about their ability to appear via Zoom and other forms of technology. So get the questionnaires ahead of time and work it out with counsel and set a hearing if you need any objections regarding that juror questionnaire, but gather that information and data before trial. Second thing, I've thought about this before, and initially I advocated to have virtual backgrounds for jurors. I've changed my mind about that just because of some of the experiences that I've had. One way that you could identify the jurors quickly, if you have a group of, let's say, 25 jurors or 30 jurors, is to have it listed at the very top of their virtual background. That, when I picked a jury virtually, was extremely helpful. I was able to quickly identify those jurors. The only problem is I couldn't see who's in their room. I didn't see anything about their back, anything behind them. And that is one of the things I want to talk about with the folks in this group is that you may lose something. You're going to lose something if you don't have the ability to see what's going on in their room. So the other method that we did, especially in multiple trials, and also the last one that we did with Judge Henning, is we had each of the jurors' names and numbers in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. This way we can quickly look down, see that's juror number 5, that's her name, and that, I think, was sufficient to eliminate the need to have a virtual background. You see that that's a juror, you see the word there, that's gonna help out. You want to pre-number those jurors again. So if you gather that data through the questionnaires ahead of time, and then you know who your panel is going to be, maybe you're able to dismiss people for hardship, maybe dismiss people for cause by agreement. You'll be able to know what that first 25 people or first 30 people are going to look like, and how to number them. And then you get them numbered ahead of time. And when they show up to that screen, or when they show up to the courtroom, you have whoever is working in the background, the clerk, to number those jurors. You got them 1 through whatever the number is, and it's going to make your life so easy. So this is what it looked like when I was picking a jury. And as you can see, very, very clear. I could look down at my screen and see all the different jurors. And I think, that was very, very helpful to me. But again, I lost something. And what I lost was the ability to see what's going on in their room with them. And so when we did the mock trial with Judge Henning, all we did was number the jurors. And this is the difference. So the top was the mock trial that we did up in Ohio with the NYU Law Civil Jury Project. It's the virtual background's great because you can really quickly see that that red bright mark says juror. The bottom screen is a juror, but what you see is there's a little bit more information. And if you're an attorney like me who picks juries, whether it's I like to know as much information about every single juror as possible. And so when I watched and when I participated in the Judge Henning's jury selection, I said to myself, there's a little bit of data, and it may not be a ton, but there's a little bit of data that I can gather if that background is opened up and I could see what type of room they're in. Are they in an office? Are they in their living room? Are there any pictures on the wall? Things like that. And it's not a ton of data, but my suggestion is you don't use a virtual background for the jurors, and you have the number in the bottom left-hand corner, and you'll be able to gather a little bit more information about that juror. Being able to see that, and you also know that there's no one else in the room, at least in the camera view. So one of the things that I also wanted to share with you was my experience with asking a panel of jurors. And Zoom typically only allows you to see 25 people on your screen. So if you have a panel that's more than 25 people, which is inclusive of the lawyers, and it spills onto the next page, you may ask a question: how many of you, whatever the question is, and hands may go up. Number one, because there's so many tiles on the first page that you're seeing, you may not see every single hand that goes up. And you may not see hands that go up on the second screen. You're definitely not going to see hands that go up on the second screen. So that's a problem. One of the suggestions, and there's some solutions obviously, is if they're given some type of card or something with the summons so that they can hold up maybe a red card or something like that, so that you can quickly look down and see the red cards, talk to those jurors, go to your next page. I'm going to suggest another way that you can do jury select, pick the jury, which is helpful, which I found helpful when I did the mock jury voir dire up in Ohio with the NYU Law Civil Jury Project. So as you can see, there's one hand that popped up there. And what I did notice was there were times where hands were missed. So there may be someone that wants to share information with you, but because you're in real time and you're moving quickly, the judge may miss, that hand going up. That juror is not going to want to share the information with you voluntarily. And so that hand goes down, and you may have missed some information from that particular juror. So the other option that I suggest is sharing your screen and using a PowerPoint presentation to have the question that you're going to ask up. And then, one of the methods that I use, which I thought was very effective, and again, you lose a little. There's give and take with the way that we're doing this. But if you share your screen and you have a PowerPoint with the question that you're asking, the jurors are able to look down at that question. They're able to think about it, and then all you have to do is go one by one. Juror number one, how do you feel? And this way, juror number two, how do you feel? Yes or no? And if they say yes, you follow up. Well, tell me a little bit more. Tell me how you feel. Describe what you're talking, explain more. And this way you'll gather that information. You'll see if there's a problem. You'll be able to ask your follow-up questions for cause. And what I think was really great when I did this was I was able to talk to each individual juror and have that experience with that particular juror. And then, be able to talk to that juror about what other jurors had mentioned previously. And so this way, you're not going to miss anybody. You're going to make sure that you have that one-on-one contact, and that juror is more likely going to be, when they're put on the spot, how do you feel about that? And you're talking directly to them, they're going to be more likely to share that information than if you missed their hand going up and you never came back to them. So just a thought, when every single one of you starts picking juries via Zoom, think about sharing your screen, putting a question up, and then going one by one And you can do this quickly. I moved very, very fast. Juror 1, how do you feel? Yes or no? No. Next person. It moved actually very, very quickly as opposed to asking that general question to the panel. Opening and closings. My suggestion and my recommendation is incorporate a PowerPoint presentation. We are visual learners. When I'm in court, I will always use a PowerPoint presentation for openings or closings. I want the jurors to see what I'm talking about. I want to walk them through the verdict form and all the evidence that we're going to be talking about and the reasons why we win using powerful images. And so my suggestion is, by now everyone should be able to share their screen and incorporate a PowerPoint presentation quickly into their presentation. And if you don't know that, just reach out to me and I can give you a couple of tips on how to put that PowerPoint presentation together, how to share your screen and do it really effectively and efficiently. So for openings and closings, and I think for direct examinations and cross and whatever it is, even if it's an evidentiary hearing and you're in front of a judge or a bench trial, if it is your turn to put a witness on or to give an opening or give a closing, stand up. Stand up. I never, when I'm in court, if I'm talking to a jury or if I'm talking to the judge or if I'm speaking to the witness, I'm not sitting down. I'm not sitting down. And just because the way, that we're doing these hearings via Zoom, my suggestion is don't change the way that you act in court when you're at home. You should stand up, whether you get a standing desk or whether you prop your computer up. So right now I'm actually standing up. I use a standing desk, but I also have something that propped up my computer a little bit higher because the standing desk didn't go high enough so that I could stand and really feel the way I feel when I'm in court. When I'm putting a direct exam or cross exam, I'm not sitting down. And I think you're gonna lose something, about that confidence and about the way you are if you're sitting down and you're doing your presentation to, again, evidentiary hearing, bench trial, mediation. When it's your time to speak, stand up and address whoever it is you're going to address, and that's going to help you out. This was a big change. This was something that really helped me out that I learned a few months ago. But when you queue up a PowerPoint presentation, and there are really two ways to do it. You can get your PowerPoint presentation up, you can share your screen, and then you can start from beginning from the PowerPoint. But unfortunately, when you do that, everyone can see all the slides that come next. And it takes a couple seconds of fumbling around. Instead of doing that, what you want to do is get your PowerPoint set up, start it from the beginning, and then from there, you're going to see when you start from beginning, it completely takes up your entire screen, so you don't have access to Zoom anymore. But if you're on a PC and you hit Alt-Tab, or if you're on a Mac and you hit Command-Tab, that's going to give you access to the other programs that are open on your computer. So your PowerPoint can be queued up and ready, and then you hit these buttons and you can get right to your Zoom meeting and then share your screen. Your PowerPoint is ready to go. Just like I did before, I use these keys so that when I initially shared my PowerPoint, it was already queued up, playing from beginning, and I was able to jump right into the presentation. So that's a quick tip. Write it down. I think it's really great. Direct and cross examinations. So there are a number of different programs that you can use to share exhibits effectively on whether it's a deposition or it's a trial. And I'm going to suggest a couple different options, but one of the ways that you can do it is by when you share your screen, you can actually link and show a mirror image of what's going on your iPad. If you have an iPad, that's how I operate. I use an iPad Pro for pretty much everything that I do. And so my suggestion is get the programs that work really well and you can mirror the images onto your computer when you're giving a presentation. Trialpad is a really, really powerful tool. You can load up exhibits, you can pre-mark those exhibits, and then when you share your screen, you can show that exhibit, you can do call outs, you can highlight, and you can do it all yourself. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just get a simple PDF reader application on your iPad and mirror that, and you can go through the documents. Trialpad is really great because it gives you that extra step of being able to do call outs from the documents and then also highlight and make annotations while you're actually speaking. So check that out. Jeff mentioned that I have a YouTube channel. This is the video that I explained. It's called Zoom Depositions, How to Use Exhibits. That's the one where I explain how you share your screen and how you mirror the image from your iPad. And that's the way that I do it. I think it's a great method if I'm doing it alone. But what I suggest is taking it up to the next level and incorporating a company like Legalese, who I have worked with for over a decade. And these folks have been experts in the field of in-court technology, out-of-court technology, exhibits, demonstrative exhibits. And I mean, these guys have been to trial more times than I think I could almost guarantee that we can take every single attorney that's on this line, add up every trial that you've all had. They've had more because they travel around the state and they just in trial after trial after trial. And they've, been parts of, I think they've been involved in over $1 billion in verdicts of, over the past several years. It's phenomenal. They're a phenomenal resource. And what they do is they will help you not only manage the Zoom conference call in a deposition, mediation, or hearing, or evidentiary hearing, whatever it is, but they're also going to get those exhibits queued up and ready for you so that you don't have to worry about fumbling around with your computer or an iPad. All you do is speak. All you do is get prepared, know what exhibits you're going to be talking about, and then go ahead and get started. So we're going to do a quick demonstration. I'm going to see if we can get this going and show you how Legalese does, how we work together when we're doing a presentation over Zoom, or even if we're in court, because it's pretty much the same thing that we do when we're in court. So I'm going to stop sharing that, and then Baron Phillipson from Legalese is going to go ahead and share his screen. And we're going to show you a couple exhibits and how we do it when we're in court and how they do it when they're doing a deposition. So let's do this. And I'm just going to give an example. We'll say, Dr. Proctor, let's go ahead and look at some old advertisements from the cigarette companies from the 1950s and 60s. Let's go ahead and bring up Dem 1.
Absolutely, Mr. Rosen.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Proctor. Do we have advertisements of this from the cigarette companies using people like Ronald Reagan to market their product?
Yes, we did. Let me show those to you.
All right. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right. And let's go ahead to the bottom right-hand corner. What about the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company? Did they use people like John Wayne to market their product to customers?
Yes, they did, Mr. Rosen.
All right. Thank you. So how about doctors? Did the tobacco industry use doctors to market cigarettes to their customers?
Yes, they did.
Well, let's bring up Dem 2. What are we looking at here, Doctor?
We're looking at just a sampling of some of the advertisements used at various times that showed medical professionals talking about the advantages of smoking.
So let's go ahead and call out one of those. All right, and what's the title? What's the call out there? What was this campaign called?
I'm going to grow 100 years old. More doctors smoke Camels, with the M and the D in more doctors in red.
All right. How about let's move forward in time, Dr. Proctor, and let me ask you something. Did the R.J. Reynolds Company take a public advertisement out telling customers that they did not market to children?
Yes, they did, called the Open Debate.
Let's go ahead and look at PT00012A. What are we looking at here, Doctor?
This was one of the full-page ads taken out by R.J. Reynolds in 1984 that talks about the fact that they don't advertise to children. And
this was a public advertisement?
This was public, ran in major newspapers, including the New York Times.
Do we have previously secret internal documents about whether or not R.J. Reynolds was marketing to children around this time?
We do. We have many.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at PT01641. What is the title of this document and the year, sir?
This is the 1975 marketing plan presentation in Hilton Head that was done on September 30th, 1974 by Mr. C.A. Tucker, Vice President of R.J. Reynolds.
All right, let's go ahead and go down to the call out in the bottom of the screen, and if you can read that to the jury up to where it says business.
Sure. First, let's look at the growing importance of the young adult in the cigarette market. In 1960, this young adult market, the 14 to 24 age group, represented 21% of the population. As seen by this chart, they will represent 27% of the population in 1975. They represent tomorrow's cigarette business.
Doctor, have you seen dozens of internal company documents from the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company targeting kids as young as 13, 14, 15 years old?
Yes.
All right, let's move forward a little bit in time to the mid-1980s. Dr. Proctor, do we have the CEO of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company appearing on Nightline talking about whether cigarettes cause harm to human beings?
Yes, we do.
And let's go ahead and take a look at PT01751BA. And can you publish that for the jury, please?
Absolutely.
Earlier this week, the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company took out this ad in a number of major newspapers and magazines, calling for an open debate about smoking. In brief, the ad contends that medical studies which show that cigarette smoking causes disease are ignoring significant evidence to the contrary. Cigarette smoking does not cause cancer, yes or no?
It is not known whether cigarettes cause cancer.
All right,
it has not been causally established.
Cigarette smoking, no causal relationship between cigarette smoking and emphysema.
Despite all of the research to date, there has been no causal link established.
No causal relationship between cigarette smoking and heart disease.
No, as a matter of fact, there are studies that while we are accused of being associated with heart disease, there have been studies conducted over 10 years that would say again that science is still puzzled over these forces.
Dr. Proctor, was that the chief executive officer of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company?
Yes, that was.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
So what you saw there is the ability to bring in help to really give a powerful presentation, whether it's in a mediation, a deposition, a hearing. You know, my opinion is if you're going to take it up a notch and you really want to give the best, put your best foot forward, bring in a company like Legalese. They are the experts at it. They have all the equipment set up at their office, and they're able to help you incorporate all the exhibits that you're going to use during a deposition and allow you and help you to use them effectively. So I think, in my opinion, that's a lot better than me fumbling, with my iPad trying to highlight it myself. During that entire presentation, I stood back, my hands were empty, and I let Baron take over and do the presentation. I think it's really great. So consider reaching out to Legalese. There's their information, and if you need it later on, reach out to me, email me, because they are a huge, huge resource. Juror feedback. So we conducted these mock trials, and they went very, very well. The jurors, there's a few things that, after every single trial, I like to do something called an after action report, where I look at the things that went right, the things that went wrong, how we can improve. One of the things that I noticed, or at least one of the things that the jurors had mentioned, was that the summons needs to be crystal clear. It cannot be a complicated summons.
Get over here.
Do you have the titles that you got for free?
Okay.
So it was like about $18 the whole thing.
That's all right. These are the things that happen during Zoom meetings where a microphone's not muted. In any event, clear jury instructions, clear instructions on the summons, so the jurors know exactly where to go and what to do. The jurors that showed up for our mock trial, we had 50-something show up, which was great, but there was a questionnaire that we wanted the jurors to fill out, and only a few of them got that. And the reason was there was just a slight lack in the instructions in the actual summons that would really direct the people to the right place so that they know exactly what to do. So when you do this mock jury, or when you do an actual jury trial over Zoom, get in front of the court, meet up with opposing counsel, and work out what everything is going to look like and where the landing page is, so those jurors know where to go, where they're going to fill out the information, and how it's going to come back to you, so that you have that data and you'll be ready for jury selection. Eye contact. The jurors were, in one of the mock jury trials that we did, they were very hyper aware of people and how they gave eye contact during their presentation, especially witnesses, the attorneys. And so what I'm going to suggest is, and I've been trying to do it, and I tell myself constantly, I remind myself to not look down at the people that are on your screen, but look right into that camera. And it's a totally uncomfortable thing to do, but do it. You're looking at that little red light or whatever it is, the top of your camera or into your Logitech camera. Look into that camera. And what the jurors said was the witnesses that were looking into the camera and talking to them were more credible. Those people, they were able to look at them. They were able to judge them. They felt a connection with that witness because that witness was actually talking to them as opposed to looking down at the screen. So consider that when you're giving your presentation and you're talking to the judge or you're talking to the mediator or you're taking a deposition, you look right at that camera and make that connection. The jurors did not love virtual backgrounds. And the report from the jurors was this, is that the attorneys that were using virtual backgrounds looked distorted. And the only thing that I could gather from that, because we didn't ask the next question, is it had to have been either the judge or the jurors, or excuse me, the attorneys that didn't have that green screen in connection with a virtual background. Because if you have a green screen, you're going to look crystal clear and you're not going to get that distortion. But the jurors did not like a virtual background with the attorneys that didn't have a green screen. You know, they were reporting that there's this you know, that distortion that happens, that interference that happens with the image that I showed you earlier. So it just shows the importance of a green screen. You can go on Amazon. There's a great kit. I think it's like $115. It has a stand. It folds up. It's real small. You put it in your closet and then it unfolds really easily. So check that out. The jurors also reported, and this was in both the real jury selection that we did with real jurors, reported that they felt they can judge the credibility of people through Zoom. Most of the jurors, and what I've noticed in speaking with people, a lot of people, right, across the board, whether it's, you know, any industry that we're talking about, so many people now are used to Zoom platform. We've all become experts to some extent in just getting into a meeting and talking to other people through Zoom. And the jurors all felt they can judge the credibility, and they felt very comfortable on Zoom. Another thing, as of right now, and again, you know, hopefully in the next year or so, we'll get back into the courtroom and we'll have the jurors coming in and we'll, you know, put together the social distancing and everything else that we need to make it happen. And hopefully there'll be a vaccine and this whole thing will go away. But the reality is we're not there. We're nowhere near there right now. The jurors reported they felt so comfortable being able to appear at a jury trial on Zoom. You know, they're in the safety of their home. They're used to being on Zoom, and they all felt that that they could do it and that they'd be happy to do it. And my experience, you know, when we were picking that jury with Judge Henning, I felt like we were in Broward County Courthouse with a group of Broward County jurors, and we were just talking to them. It was just normal. It was like, but it was just over Zoom. So it's just something to consider, is that jurors are happy to serve on the Zoom platform and not have to go into the courthouse, not have to go through security, not have to go through those steps that could expose them to, you know, obviously this horrible disease that's going on right now. So, and Judge Phillips mentioned this also, that the jurors appreciated the seriousness of the proceedings. Every single one of those jurors, you know, just listening to them, you hear in their voice that they appreciated that this is court, this is the real deal. The judge is a real judge. These are real attorneys. These are real people, and they appreciated the seriousness of the proceedings, which I think is also critically important. You know, we initially feel like, well, maybe they're not going to feel it's so serious, but most of the jurors, 99% of them, all reported they felt that it was a serious proceeding. So there have been complaints about, during jury selection, I've heard of jurors not, walking off and then not coming back to their seat right away, or, going off screen and then not coming back. In my experience, and I've picked a lot of juries, that happens in court. I can't tell you how many times I've come back from lunch, we get all the jurors lined up, they come into the courtroom, and there's one missing, and we don't know where they are. Sometimes we get started, sometimes we wait for them, but that happens. It's going to happen whether we're in the courthouse or whether we are doing a jury trial through Zoom. It's going to happen, and we're going to deal with it. And I know that we can all adapt and make it happen. And I mentioned this before. Most of the jurors were highly proficient with the Zoom platform. Every one of them seemed like they were very easily able to. If they got kicked out of the meeting, they came right back in. And I thought that was great. Again, we're in a different world now, and who knew it? I had heard of Zoom. I'd used Zoom a few times before this whole pandemic, but it wasn't a big thing, and now everyone knows Zoom. So that's the presentation. I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much to the judges, to all the attorneys, and I hope I covered a bunch of information. And if you have any questions, please let me know. There's my email, my phone, and you can always check out the YouTube channel. I'm not sure if anyone has questions that they've shared, but I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint, and maybe I'll let Jeff open it up to questions, and we can chat a little bit more. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, Eric. Really solid information. And in addition to that, for those of you who received the invitation through our email, there's a great list of 7 tips that Eric has to improve your Zoom experience and what other people see. If you did not get it, just email us and we will send it to you at abotaftl@gmail.com. There were a few questions though, Eric, and I want to go through them real quick with you. Michael Petruccelli asks, how are jury questions handled during a Zoom jury trial?
Sure. So we actually, in the Ohio trial with the NYU Law Civil Jury Project, we had it set up that we were able to go sidebar with the judge. And so if there was a juror question, or if there was an objection, or if anything came up, very easily we were able to isolate the jurors into one section, and then we would go sidebar into a virtual room with the judge and opposing counsel, deal with whatever the question or issue was. And then if there was an objection to the question, the judge would go back, let the jurors know it was sustained. But it was done just like we would have done in court, but using virtual rooms.
I have another question. We talked about looking at the jurors while they're presenting, and I participated in one of these things too. And did you find, what kind of a screen were you using during your jury selection on July 10th with Judge Henning?
With Judge Henning, I was using my laptop. It's the one that I typically use. And what I have not, I've done this several times, and I would suggest, my recommendation is, if you have dual screens, to use a dual screen. But I was using just a simple laptop. So I had 25 people on my screen, and I have to flip to the next to go see other people. My understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong again, I know I spoke with Jeff about this a few days ago, is it's difficult to see more than that 25 people. I think you might be able to spread it out, but if you end up getting a big panel, you're going to have that problem even if you can't fit them all on the screen. So I was using my laptop.
Yeah, and again, the bigger your monitor, the easier it's going to be to see. I went out and purchased a 30-inch monitor at the suggestion of Dan Harwin, and it's made a world of difference. And obviously, they make them bigger. I saw that there's some that are horizontal, longer. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there. I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions. You were talking about Trialpad, Eric. What cloud service do you use to upload to Trialpad? Because I have some issues. I switched from Dropbox to OneDrive, and I can't seem to do that.
I use Dropbox.
Okay.
So if I have any documents that I have, like for instance, we use those PT0 exhibits with Barron a few moments ago. I'll just put, let's say, 15 exhibits or 20 exhibits into a folder in Dropbox, and then Trialpad will quickly access those, upload them, and then you can renumber them, you can mark them, you do whatever you want inside Trialpad.
Terrific. Well, again, Eric, I can't thank you enough for this wonderful presentation that has been recorded, and it will be available on our Facebook page. It'll be available on our ABOTAFTL.org, and the podcast will additionally be available. But I think this is one that you really need to see the visuals on in order to get the flavor for it. I just want to go through a few things going on with ABOTA for next week. On August 10th, the Florida Bar President is going to be having a town hall asking for, voluntary bar organizations are going to be involved. I'm going to be one of the panelists for that. It's at 11 o'clock, and you can sign up on the Florida Bar website. Our friends at the Broward Inns of Court are putting on a Practicing with Professionalism during the pandemic. And our own Chief Judge, Jack Tudor, will be participating in that. And all of that information is available in the emails. We'll be sending that out again. And I also want to put something out there. These webinars have been phenomenal because of the contributions of our members. So if you have a topic that you feel will be a benefit to the legal community, I want you to reach out to me at 954-478-1997, and we'll put together a program for you, because again, we can't all be together, but sharing this information is in the best interests of our clients, and it's going to make it easier to practice law. I thank everybody for your participation today. This program, a CLE was applied for, but the person who does that is on vacation with the Florida Bar. So when I get that information, I will send out an email with that, and we will, of course, put it on our terrific website. Mitch Chester will be putting it out there, and he's done marvelous work with ABOTAFTL.org. And if you want to see anything that we've been doing since the pandemic, it's all there. A lot of very helpful tips, tricks, and this webinar will be up there as well. So I wish everybody a good weekend. Thank you to Legalese for your help. Thank you, Eric Rosen. Thank you to all the judges who spoke and who participated in this webinar. And again, be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
If everybody be safe.